3I Atlas is a mysterious visitor from interstellar space that has delivered many hidden messages to us in subtle ways. From forming its tail in the opposite direction to showing behaviors that are not normally seen in comets. Is it really a comet or a time capsule sent from another world? Its entry into our solar system is also a huge coincidence. But why? And what is going to happen in December 2025 with 3I Atlas that the entire scientific community is eagerly waiting for? Welcome once again to Nobels Creation. Viewers, the story of 3I Atlas begins on a cold night in July 2025 when a massive network of telescopes located in Hawaii, Chile, and South Africa was busy with its routine work. This network is called Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, or simply ATLAS. The only purpose of these telescopes was to scan the sky and identify dangerous asteroids heading toward Earth. On that night, ATLAS captured a faint moving dot in space. At first, it seemed like just another ordinary asteroid. But soon, expert calculations shocked everyone. And the biggest reason was its speed. Yes, normally objects in our solar system, whether planets or asteroids, orbit around the sun. The closer an object is to the sun, the faster it moves. For example, Mars orbits at about 24 kilometers per second. That means around 86,400 kilometers per hour. Similarly, Earth moves at 29.8 kilometers per second. Venus moves at 35, and Mercury, being closest to the Sun, moves at 47.9 kilometers per second. But the object Atlas recorded was moving at over 58 kilometers per second. Now the problem was, its speed didn't match its location. At that time, it was near Jupiter, our outermost major planet. But its speed was even higher than Mercury. This speed proved that the object did not belong to our solar system. Instead, it came from another star system, what we call interstellar space. This was the moment when NASA classified it as an interstellar object and named it 3I Atlas, because it was identified by the ATLAS telescope network. After identification, scientists began searching for its past traces. They discovered that this object had also been seen 2 months earlier, in May 2025. But at that time, another telescope system called TEST failed to properly identify it. Once its extreme speed confirmed that it was not from our solar system, it was given a special identity. The letter I was added to represent interstellar. And because it is the third interstellar object ever discovered passing through our solar system, it was named 3I Atlas. But you will be surprised to know that 3I Atlas is not just a number. It is very different from the previous two interstellar visitors. Their names were Oumuamua and Borisov. The first was discovered in 2017, and the second in 2019. Both also came from interstellar space. But 3I Atlas is different from both of them. The first difference is size. Oumuamua was about 400 meters long. Borisov's core was around 1,000 meters. But 3I Atlas is much larger, about 5.6 kilometers wide. The second major difference is speed. Atlas is moving almost twice as fast as both of them. Beyond size and speed, its entry angle is also very strange. In our solar system, everything orbits in a thin disk around the sun. The first two interstellar objects entered from above this disk. But 3I Atlas did something unusual. It entered the solar system at a perfect side angle. Scientists say this kind of alignment is like an arrow hitting a target perfectly. That is why its entry is being called a massive cosmic coincidence. But where did 3I Atlas actually come from? Tracing its origin is like traveling back in time. When scientists studied its speed and straight trajectory, they concluded that it came from an unidentified star system located in the core region of the Milky Way galaxy. You should know that our solar system is part of the Milky Way galaxy. And just like our solar system, the Milky Way is also shaped like a thin disk. This is where new stars are formed, and it is a very crowded region. But if you look at this disk in 3D, above and below it, there is a much less crowded ancient region. This is called the thick disk. It is a part of the Milky Way where very old stars exist. Scientists believe that 3I Atlas came from this thick disk region. Research estimates suggest that 3D Atlas is around 7.6 billion years old. This makes it almost twice as old as Earth. Although we cannot identify the exact star that created it, scientists have traced its journey for about 10 million years. And surprisingly, during this entire journey, it never came as close to any other star as it came to our sun. When 3I Atlas entered the boundary of our solar system, it was like a fast, fearless traveler. At that time, it was far beyond Jupiter's orbit, in cold and dark space. Everything seemed normal at first, but its story took a strange turn when it approached Jupiter. At around 5 astronomical units from the Sun, it started showing its real behavior. Now, what is an astronomical unit? It is the distance between Earth and the Sun. So at 5 AU, 3I Atlas began forming a cloud around itself. This cloud is called a coma. Normally, comets remain frozen at such a distance from the Sun. But 3I Atlas started forming a coma much earlier than expected. This showed that it contains a large amount of carbon dioxide, basically dry ice that starts evaporating even with slight heat. This was the first real signal that 3I Atlas is not an ordinary object. 3I Atlas then crossed the orbit of Jupiter and moved deeper into the solar system. After that, it crossed the orbit of Mars as well. On October 3rd, 2025, something very interesting happened. It made its closest approach to Mars. This was the closest encounter between 3I Atlas and any planet so far. At that time, NASA's rovers and probes on Mars captured its presence in the sky. In the Martian sky, this capsule-like object was actually 3I Atlas. Although the rover cameras were not designed for this purpose, this became a historic moment. This image will always be remembered in space history. Then, on October 29th, 2025, 3I Atlas reached its closest point to the Sun. It came within 1.4 astronomical units. This was the moment scientists were waiting for, because at this point, the object would experience maximum heat, and scientists hoped to learn its true composition. But unfortunately, Earth could not observe this moment, because at that time, it was on the far side of the Sun. So solar glare blocked all telescopes. 3I Atlas passed behind the Sun, and its peak activity was hidden from Earth. But before that moment, it did something extremely strange. Scientists were carefully studying how sunlight interacted with its coma. Normally, when sunlight hits a comet or asteroid, it scatters upward or downward. This is called positive polarization. Even the first two interstellar objects showed positive polarization. But 3I Atlas completely shocked scientists. Instead of scattering upward or downward, the light was reflected back toward the sun. This is called negative polarization. And not just slightly negative, it was extremely negative. In fact, it recorded the most extreme negative polarization ever seen in any object. But polarization was not the only mystery. As 3I Atlas moved closer to the sun, scientists noticed something even stranger. In its coma, they found nickel particles. But normally, comets also contain iron along with nickel, because both form inside dying stars and usually exist together. But in 3I Atlas, iron was completely missing at first. This was another mystery. Later, as it moved closer to the sun, iron suddenly began to appear. This strange behavior suggests that it came from a completely different system, a system that does not follow our solar rules. And that is not all. Normally, when a comet enters the solar system, its tail always points away from the sun, because solar wind pushes it backward. But 3I Atlas shocked everyone again. When it first entered, its tail was pointing toward the sun, the opposite direction, like standing in strong wind and your hair blowing forward instead of backward. That is exactly how strange it looked. Scientists were shocked by this behavior. Later, as it got closer to the sun, the tail returned to normal direction. This phenomenon is still under investigation. Now, current updates show that after passing behind the sun, 3I Atlas is rapidly leaving our solar system. But before it leaves, two major events are still expected. In December, it may reappear after coming out from behind the sun and pass close to Earth's viewing range. Scientists will study how solar heat changed its structure and composition. And on March 16, 2026, 3I Atlas will pass near Jupiter once again. This will be the last close observation opportunity. NASA's Juno probe will try to capture its final images. After that, 3I Atlas will permanently leave our solar system forever. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your support and comments. We will meet again in the next amazing video.